Welcome to Splash of Socialism. We here at S.o.S. are not socialists in the modern sense. We are not anti-commerce. We are not anti-business. We are anti-exploitation. We also demand that society's bare minimum needs be met, no matter what. We are also passionate about language. We have watched helplessly as the media has abused language to lie and fearmonger. We are here to share our truth. We are here to out hypocrisy where we find it. To do that, we also need to reclaim the language being used to divide us. We don't have all the answers. We are probably going to get details wrong. This is where you come in. If we get something wrong, call us out. And if we made a stupid mistake,
Like referring to London as a country. Oops.
yeah, but by all means, make fun of us. We are having a conversation. We are not teaching a history lesson. These conversations are unscripted and unedited. We have nothing to hide.
Welcome to S.o.S. We are going to start each episode by reviewing a few related policy topics from my website, proudprogressivepatriot.com. And then we are going to have unscripted conversation about those topics. And we will end each episode by answering what should be an obvious question, but somehow still seems to be in debate. Today's topic from my website on the Issues tab: should Confederate flags or monuments be present on government or public property? And I said no. Those types of artifacts should be relocated to relevant museums. And the second thing today is, should we abolish the Electoral College? And I say yes. Every person's vote should count the same regardless of where they live. We have the ability to support a national popular vote, and we should do so. So, JT, what are your thoughts about Confederate monuments on
Well,
public spaces?
your idea of taking them to museums was certainly better than mine. I was thinking of bronzing them in miniature and giving them to people so they can put it on their loved one's gravestone and and just be done with it. Uh, Obviously, I think it's very insensitive. I can more or less understand why northern states did that. I don't know.
The problem I have with all the monuments and the arguments for having them is like, oh well, we need to learn our, we don't want to forget our heritage, and like, but those statues haven't been around since the Confederacy. They were mostly built in the 1960s, you know, during
Well,
you
that's
know
right.
like not not just 60s, but during all the Jim Crow racial stuff, built the relics or the monuments to keep black people in their place when they're coming onto government institutions. And it's I don't
I,
think it has a place in our government organizations.
and I don't know why my brain just keeps going towards CRT the and the monuments for Civil War heroes. Um, yeah, there's a big divide there. I think polar divide right there,
Yeah, a little bit.
and like I don't know why it just came to mind.
Yeah. CRT is a whole other. It's just CRT being critical race theory, I'm assuming, is what you're talking about. Um, but it doesn't. It's one of those words that has come to mean nothing because it now just means everything Republicans don't like.
No, I admit to still having problems with some of the words that I don't know whether which party or which group of people they supposedly cast doubt upon or whatever, but um, critical race theory, man. It's it's a shame that actually, let me take that back. I'm delighted that it's coming to the forefront.
Mhm.
I would love to see a more historical truth come out about our history.
Oh, you don't like our whitewash social studies classes?
But which classes?
Our whitewashed social studies
Oh,
classes.
absolutely. But
Like,
because I'm whitewashed, I had no idea.
yeah, no, seriously, like I grew up thinking that the Native Americans taught the Pilgrims how to grow corn. That's what I
What?
learned.
They didn't?
Right, like that's what I learned in history class. Nothing. I was in college before I really understood, what the Trail of Tears was, what the genocide was that we committed against the
Mhm.
Native Americans, and so we have to bring it back to the Confederate monuments, and Christian monuments for that, religious monuments. Like we should not have the Ten Commandments at the courthouse.
Oh,
Actually,
correct. Oh,
I
correct.
I think it's hilarious that the Church of Satan is actually really proactive about suing to get their own statues and things every time um, this comes up about voting to remove something from a courthouse and like, oh, we're gonna leave it, and then the Church of Satan's like, well, put our statue right next to yours because it's not freedom of religion. Like, I don't know, somehow people forget that that means freedom from religion.
Yay.
Like I'm religious, I'm a Buddhist, but I also don't need to shove it in people's faces. Like when I'm going to get my driver's license, I don't need to see Buddhist scripture on the wall. I don't need to see Christian scripture on the wall. Like totally separate from church and state. And the the Confederate issues are worse than that. Like, oh, it's our heritage. No, it's the heritage of treason. Like,
Absolutely.
like that.
Boston Tea
That's
Party and all.
like that. That your heritage is treason. Congratulations. Like,
Treason and enslavement.
right? Yeah. Well, states' rights. Well, state right to what? To own other people, right? Like that's that's what your heritage is. Like
Well, and states' rights. I've never been a huge believer in states' rights. And talking, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but the tangent's going there. Electoral college is going to kill states' rights. There are so many people who benefit from the electoral college. I
mhm.
mean, the entire way we just decide candidates is through should be nationwide. The whole
Right.
statewide thing is ridiculous.
I agree with you. We should it should be a popular vote. Like it shouldn't be by state. Um, and then people, oh well, then California decides our president. Well, more people live in California. Like that's more people voted for that person just because you live in Iowa or whatever. Like your
Mhm.
acreage doesn't get a vote, right? It's your just because I live in a high rise, I don't. But people living in a high rise who don't take up the acreage, their vote should count as the same person who's got 40 acres out in Nebraska. Like
Yeah.
land doesn't vote, people vote.
And I, for the longest time, I thought, no, the electoral college is cool. It's okay. It's a way to give states something to say. But I've since gone back on that in the last few weeks, and I it it just shouldn't be.
The best argument, because I've been trying to, you know, do do my homework on both sides, not just this is the way I think it should be, so it is. I'm trying to come up with a reason to keep it. And the best argument I can find to keep the electoral college is, well, that's the way we've always done it, and that is a shit reason to keep doing anything. Like,
Especially the more we know about our founding fathers.
yeah. So, do you know why we have an electoral college? Like, what the
Uh,
reason for it is?
ah, I knew at one
Don't beat
point that.
yourself up. I just looked it up.
Oh, okay.
um, basically, half our founding fathers thought that we should have a popular vote, and half of them thought that it should just be Congress that
The
decides the
old
president.
hmm,
And so the Electoral College was the compromise. Like basically half our founding fathers were like, no, these people are way too stupid to vote for president. Like, they don't need to touch this. And we're like, we need to have the smart white people in Congress pick the president. So it's like, okay, well, what if we can make those dumb people feel like they have a say? And um
I had no idea.
and then the electors didn't used to be picked by the parties. Like that's a whole other that two party stranglehold, which makes it worse. And it's like now the electors are just picked by the state parties. And
Right.
it's um the argument that I hear about um you know keeping the electoral college, I think we need to apply to the way we do our presidential primaries. Like I constantly hear about, oh well, California, New York, Florida, and Texas. Those are the four states, right? Like, what I want to know is why in our presidential primaries, why isn't the primary vote one day like
Yeah.
the federal vote?
Super
Because like
Tuesday.
when we had like 26 Democratic candidates or something in the beginning of the
Right.
campaign season. But by the time it got to my state to vote, we were down to like four, and the guy I wanted wasn't in there anymore.
Hmm.
And it's like, I'm sorry, I'm really tired of Iowa getting to pick our primary candidates.
And somebody just sneaked ahead of him. I think maybe it was Nevada.
Whatever. I'm just like, why do we do it state by state by state for the primary, and then people are dropping out, and it's like, but the state that gets to vote last in the primary is like you don't even get a choice because it's whoever's left.
Yeah, and perhaps technologically were reasons 200 years ago that you couldn't do it very well, but
Yeah, it just
that
makes
they're
no sense now.
right. One person, one vote, no heavy emphasis on where you live or
Yeah, exactly.
anything like that. And in fact, that would reduce gerrymandering, I think.
I think so too.
It wouldn't eliminate it, but it would reduce it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm all for getting, independent commissions to
Yes,
create
absolutely.
districts that actually look like, the
Like this.
citizenry.
Well,
And then you're seeing pictures of the gerrymanderedness that is Austin, Texas. It's insane.
yeah, I think that the districts should be like these six counties, and so on like that,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
you're going to
However,
get the mix of the population.
well, like the fifth district in Arizona is almost exactly a square, and it's these five cities.
Mhm.
That makes sense. That's fine, right? It,
Right.
it doesn't cut through suburbs and into to poor neighborhoods to exclude
You-
people.
right. But they don't have enough districts, I think, to actually pull that off. But yeah, they could.
Oh, they could, I'm sure, but um, let's not go there.
So yeah, I've come around. The electoral college really does no good for any of the reforms I'd like to see in government, which is like almost everything.
I get it. It was supposed to keep people out of power who the elites decided weren't supposed to be in
Right.
power. Like literally, the point of the electoral college would have been to keep Donald Trump out of
You would
office.
have thought, yes.
Didn't work.
Didn't work.
No, he lost the popular vote and then somehow managed to squeak by. It was, George Bush in 2000, Donald
Hanging
Trump in
Chads.
2016. Yeah, it's like something like
It's like
out
the
of
filibuster, like we talked about. It doesn't work.
something
It,
like
it,
the last 8 elections, like three of them were won by somebody who lost the popular vote. Like that's not okay.
exactly. No, I no longer see any benefit whatsoever to doing state by state.
Mm-mm.
It's just too easy to say we're having one day for presidential primary.
And regular election.
That
Like not just primary, but like it shouldn't, everybody's vote should count the same. Like no matter how much land you own or, how many of you live in your town, that should have no bearing on what your vote counts on. I also, there was, especially back in the 17, 1800s, there was some technological issues with counting votes from, smaller rural areas. But we have the technology to do that. We
Right.
have the ability to support popular vote, and we should absolutely do that.
Absolutely concur. Gosh, I'm saying that an awful lot. Better not become my catchphrase. That's a dumb one.
Yeah, there's worse things. All right,
Well,
anything else before we wrap up?
no, I'm pretty much right in line with you, even though I wasn't sure I would be.
Okay, so today's things I shouldn't have to say, but apparently do, is should employers be required to provide sick leave? Obviously, employees should keep
But
their germs at home, like
but
especially if you're working in food or any kind of retail.
essential services.
Yeah, like keep your germs at home. Like we are, you know, indoctrinated to feel bad about calling in sick. Oh, you're leaving your coworkers hanging. No, your boss did that.
Yeah,
Like if your
yeah.
boss couldn't staff enough to be prepared for one person to be out sick, you didn't do that. Your boss did that. Like you come to work sick, you're gonna get everybody else sick, and like this pandemic has been a perfect example of keep your germs at home.
Well, and building the guilt in people to come to work. Oh my God, how clever has that been for a century?
Seriously. That's one thing Arizona, I was really, sorry, I'm looking at something, really surprised when I got here to learn that Arizona actually requires sick leave for everybody. Um, that was even contractors, and where I started a job here, I was like, wow, I already have sick time. And I've had jobs, before where I get PTO. I've had jobs that weren't, basic minimum wage jobs. But even most of those, you have to like start earning it. You have to start accumulating it,
Yes.
like an hour at a time or whatever.
We're not going to let you take advantage of that. Get yourself healthy and then leave.
Right. Okay,
Um,
well, thanks for joining us today. Next time, we are going to talk about ranked choice voting and using that to break the stranglehold of the two-party system.
from the fifth district and beyond. I'll get that right.